to 9 is we continue with the broadcast this morning, and our focus now is on journalism and looking at journalists who have become casualties in this genocide that is unfolding in Gaza. Now, just yesterday, we heard of Mohammed Balusha, who was shot while covering what is taking place in Gaza. The last week, we heard about the Al Jazeera journalist, the cameraman Samir Abu Daka, who was laid to rest in southern Gaza. We've seen from Reuters, we've seen from so many media outlets, we've seen journalists being killed, and all in an effort, and these are targeted killings of journalists specifically because it's all in an effort to cover up the lies, to cover up the propaganda, to cover up the false narrative, the fake news, the lies of the Israeli attack forces as they brutalize Gaza with savagery that we've never seen before. And this is the reason why we are talking this morning with Aziz Yunus, who is a Palestinian journalist. Aziz, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Shukran so much.
Yes, we've seen a journalist close on to 97, and that figure is just rising by the day. And at this point in time, we've seen major media outlets right across the entire world reporting on what is playing out in Gaza. But again, we're not seeing that level of outreach, that level of condemnation I would say, from political leaders and right across the entire world, even from some of the mainstream media, with regard to the killing of journalists in Gaza.
Mm. As you mentioned in your introduction, the Israeli Occupation Authority deliberately killed journalists with the aim of distorting the Palestinian narrative. I was speaking to my colleagues in Al Jazeera last week, and from our discussion, you can tell that what's happening in Gaza regarding the journalists and precisely is the Israeli occupation trying to obscure the truth and obstructing the delivery of news. We saw it firsthand with our colleagues in Al Jazeera, and of course with our colleagues with other news agencies. And you're trying to prevent the information, the true information coming to the world. Since the 7th of October, Israel has been, um, waging devastating genocide, in my terminology, war against the Palestinians in Gaza. Remember, we're getting over 20,000 people, most of them children and women. So almost 100 journalists is nothing compared to it's a lot. It's the deadliest for journalists ever. But it's nothing compared to what's happening to the civilians on a daily basis.
Well, certainly, but also, when you look at in any situation, journalists play a very key role in terms of reporting. And again, this is genocide being committed, but also against, international law as well, the Geneva Convention, all of that. And the protection of journalists is absolutely important, it's profound. But again, we're not seeing that level of anger. We're not seeing that level of outreach being expressed when journalists are being killed. And we know what has happened in the past, even with Shirin Abu Akleh, in terms of the cover up that had taken place. There was outreach. But again, when you're dealing with a regime, a brutal regime like the Zionist regime, with absolutely no respect for international law, acting with impunity, a complete law unto themselves. But what is even worse is when they are being protected by mainstream media, by mainstream journalism. When we're talking of some of the major corporate media right across the entire world.
Hmm. We got remember we got the journalists from every kind of news agency around the world either got killed or got injured or his family got killed in Gaza. You have Amnesty International, you have Human Rights Watch, you have Reporters Without Borders. Everyone spoke about it. Everyone wrote a report to the ICC. Um, the numbers of journalists who are getting killed live on TV are also rising. However, you're talking about a country that doesn't care about the international community, doesn't care about the law, doesn't care about human rights, doesn't care about civilian rights, doesn't care about the picture, doesn't care about. I mean, it does affect in a way. That's why we are standing with our words and with our cameras and with our voices. But for them, it's another day of killing. It's another day of fighting civilians. So it's been over 77 days, and I don't know for how long this will last until the war, as you said, will become like more angry to stand up and to stop this genocidal machine.
Yes, but also, it's thanks to media houses like the one you involved in, like Al Jazeera, like we've seen social media, because social media has been a buzz in terms of highlighting and also bringing about the truth and the stark reality of the genocide that is unfolding. And independent media houses like ourselves, where we've seen that, a lot of coverage is given. In fact, it's round the clock, it's been relentless, it's been non-stop for the last 77 days. And, despite the killing of the journalists, a lot of the lies, a lot of the fake news, a lot of the false narratives that have been reported by the Zionist regime and their supporters as well, a lot has been debunked as well.
Definitely. Most of those journalists, they realize that they their coverage is the most crucial part of this war, of this genocidal war against Gaza. Wael al-Dahdouh, the chief bureau of Al Jazeera, knows that even though his family got killed, himself standing, in front of the camera minutes after, until conveying the message to the world is as difficult as it is. It's really crucial. Millions are watching him. Millions wants to know the truth. So those heroes who've been, like, putting their lives on the line, are the reason why we still standing here. But remember also, in part, the nature of this war, which has been so far, as we mentioned, the deadliest for civilians in general, and journalists, of course. Um, Gaza is a small strip of land. It's been extremely difficult for civilians to find places of safety. On top of that, journalists are trying to report on that war, which makes it partially, if more, not more, unsafe. We've had journalists reporting at hospitals, and hospitals have been targeted. We've had journalists have been reporting on convoys of people trying to get from a place to a place of safety, and those corridors have been targeted. So it's very difficult to tell journalists, to tell our colleagues, how to be safe while you're in Gaza.
Mm. But I think, what is of a major concern is when we look at the number of journalists that have been martyred and that have been murdered and killed, and the attitude of the world, the attitude of the leadership, attitude of those who are supporting this Zionist entity is, just these are collateral damage, because that is the attitude that they are adopting, and it's not taken seriously as it should, Aziz.
100%. Besides the massive requests, to be in touch from international organization with the Israeli government, which was which was denied all of it. We're talking about the surrounding countries, surrounding leaders who so far did nothing. Has been watching, condemning, sending statements. Um, and in Arabic we say يشجب بعبارات قاسية, which means, like, sending like a hectic statements. I don't know what would that do to to families and journalists there. However, you're seeing people are watching live on TV. Their colleagues and their civilians and their families getting killed, and yet after all these days, all these long days, winter, winter in Palestine is crucial, is really cold. After all of these days, we're still reluctant, to see any countries, any leaders moving forward to try to stop um, this horrific attacks.
Yes, and just looking at it from Al Jazeera perspective, because this is now an organization and a media organization that has lost a number of journalists, and just looking at the sentiment that is expressed within the Al Jazeera establishment with your colleagues. We know last week with Samir Abu Daka, when he was laid to rest, the Al Jazeera felt very, very strongly, even to the extent of taking the matter up with the International Criminal Court as well, to charge Israel for war crimes. Just what are the sentiments being expressed amongst the journalists within Al Jazeera, seeing your colleagues being slaughtered in this most brutal manner?
It's very difficult, to be honest. Even before I joined, we saw m- a lot of members of Al Jazeera getting killed, whether covering the war in Iraq, the invasion of the Americans, to Lebanon on the borders at the beginning of this attack, and now in Gaza a couple of times before this war, and now we saw the Al Jazeera office getting bombed in a couple of places, Gaza including. So it's very difficult. Some of these people we know personally. We've been trained together. They either been our trainers, or we got to chat together. So it's very difficult, but in a sense, it's a way of life, if that's the right terminology. We understand that when we choose this path, when we choose to convey the right truthful message to the world, and we choose to work with these channels that try to convey the truth. It's not the easiest work, and we respect our families who stands with us, but also I don't know, I'm just rumbling around because I don't know how to answer this question, to be honest, in a way that can make sense to me these days.
Well, I think, a lot of it doesn't make sense to us. And sometimes, even as journalists, we are actually lost for words, Aziz, because of just being so overwhelmed with what is happening around us. But, inshallah, we make dua that, continue your good work. We wish you well. We wish all your colleagues well as well at Al Jazeera. And we will continue. This is going to be a campaign that has got to be non-stop. We need to embrace it fully. It's got to be relentless. We need to continue. And like Al Jazeera has been continuing, Alhamdulillah, with Salam Media from day one, from when this had actually started, it's been non-stop, and we will continue providing that voice for the people of Palestine, giving a voice to the voiceless, inshallah. And
Yeah.
but for now, Jazakallah, we thank you for your time, for taking time out and talking to us this morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Shukran so much. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Aziz Yunus, Palestinian journalist with us. And with that, we're going to go for a break. We come back, we'll be joined by Mazhar Khan out of the United Kingdom, talking about the only solution for Palestine.